Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Oh, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to finally finish Madame Malgary's Wand and Broom Emporium. If you missed the other videos in this series, there'll be a link to the playlist in the description box down below. So let's get this project finished. This is going to go on the front, and we're going to put a sign that says Madame... You know what? I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and Lord knows what I did with that piece of paper that I wrote it down on. I'll pull it. I looked it up in the dictionary to find a word that I could use. I'll pull out my dictionary, look it up again, and figure out what I was going to call it. So I want to put a sign on the front that says, you know, Madame, I think it was Malgary's Wand and Broom Emporium. So that's going to go here. But I also wanted to put, and we're going to do a brad for a doorknob. But I also want to take one of the Tim Holtz, this is from like the baseboards, I think, set. And I've already written it out in pencil, which you probably can't see. But I want to have shoplifters will be turned into toes written on there. And I'm going to do that in white pen. I'm going to set that aside, let that dry so I don't mess it up. We can go ahead and attach this. Let's put a doorknob on. That's going to go there. All right, I'm going to grab a brad for our doorknob. Let's put a hole in. Let's 6.5. So we're going to go, see that there for our doorknob. And that can get attached because everything else we may do will get attached to it. So let's go ahead and glue this on. Alright, now the edges of this are blending in because this is so dark. So let's try Distress Crayon in Black Soot. Then going over the white a little bit with that. I like that. Let's see how that looks now. I think I want to put something behind it. Oh, that's coming up. All right. Let's make sure you stay down. All right, I need to think about what I want to put behind. I'm going to put some moss down here. Okay, so I've glued it on. So that's in place. And what we're going to do is this guy's going to go here. The bottle's going to go next to him. I've got one of my mini books, and I'm going to put a wand on top of that. We've got our wand stands, and I realized I was showing you the wand stand and I had it pressed like that. If you press it back like that, they stand much better. So the bigger wand stands gonna go on this shelf. And then the two smaller ones are gonna go on the top shelf. Right, because there should be just enough room for two wand stands. Yes. Now, because what I want to do is run some lights back here, and then I'm going to use moss to cover up the lights, some lights over here, and then I'm going to have them come down here so that I can put a light behind the candle so that it looks like the candle's lit up. And all around down here. And I'm noticing now I can't squeeze my hole punch in, but I have this tool, which will punch a hole, and then up here, because I don't have the thing above it, I can just put a hole in like so. Alrighty, so we're gonna go through. Alright, I'm gonna try and remember to stay on camera. I am gonna pull this back to where our first light is. Mostly because I just want to tape down this little bit to keep everything where I want it. And I don't want to tape this down because I want to have enough slack to pull out that and change the batteries. So we're going to put a piece of tape there, and that should still give us the ability to pull this drawer out far enough that we can change the batteries, and that will work. All right, so let's push that back in. So here's the slight problem, is when pushing it back in, getting that wire to go back through. Hopefully it won't be an issue once we glue this in place. All right. So I then want to put lights. We're gonna lay this flat-ish and run lights along here. All right, so I've crimped up a bunch of lights. We're gonna go back through the hole we came out. Push down the wires so it stays in place. And I'll probably put a piece of tape on that. Then we'll come up here. And then we'll go back out that hole. And we need a hole down here. Yeah, definitely want to put some tape to hold things in place. I wanted to do kind of like a runner on the top, but I think we're going to need to do a couple strands of it. So let's do that. Okay, so I think we're gonna do one. This one will go at the front, and then that will go between the two. Now I'm just trying to decide if I want it overlapping or not. I think I want them to overlap a little bit. So actually what I'm gonna do is I'm going to tack them together with my Fabri-Tac. It can go on so, and it'll look like, yeah, that'll work. All right, what we're gonna do is tack it down here as well. Let's tack this on, and then I'll let the dogs out, and that'll give it a second to dry while I'm letting them out. Kind of like that. Yeah, that's gonna work. All right, so let's lay this back flat. I think I'm gonna do another piece of tape to hold this in place. If I can get the tape off my finger. All right, so that's good. Now let's get our lights crumpled down here. Now we need to cover that up with moss, because nobody wants to see that mess. And let's turn it on so we can see what it looks like turned on. See, yeah, that works much better. So let's go ahead and just use some matte medium. Some purple moss, because why not? Tile's gonna go here. I think I'm gonna wait to glue the vial on, just because I have a feeling I'm gonna need to keep it upright so that you can't see it. But I think, can we glue him on? Glue him on like so, and then take our tiny light and try and get it attached to there. I feel like what I need to do is glue it on. And clamp it on. And I think that's all right. The skull's a little cockeyed. I don't know why the skull's sitting there cockeyed. Let's glue this on. I think I'm gonna sit here and hold these guys in place until the glue fully sets. So I'm gonna do that. And I may add moss on the other shelves while I'm at it. Because yeah, he's like, he's leaning. Oh, and that just fell off completely. And I don't know why he's leaning. We're gonna leave him upright and let him dry. Get this guy in upright and let him dry, and then we'll futz with the light. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put the moss on the rest of the shelves because I have to hold it upright and so you can't see what I'm doing. And the lights are starting to be a little blinding, so let's do that. So I'll do that and I'll be back. So how many of you were yelling at me when I was gluing the shims to the back of this piece that I was basically gluing it to the back of the drawers and the drawers wouldn't pull out? Because yeah, I had to like rip them off of the shims that I glued back there in order to get them to open and close again. So that was not my finest hour. And my dog's losing his mind. And before I glue anything else onto here, I think I'm gonna go ahead and put it into the piece, because if I glue anything else on, I might not be able to get it into the piece. Oh, and as I'm trying to fit it in now, it's a little too wide, so I'm gonna need to trim off a little on that end. Yeah, I'm glad I stopped decorating, because that would have been a nightmare. A ruler. This one has metal in the tip, so it's okay to use, because normally you wouldn't want to use an acrylic ruler with a blade, because you'd end up shaving stuff off of your acrylic ruler. Actually, let's switch this around, because I am right-handed and so want to use the blade with my right hand. I think I may grab my scissors, because now that I've gone through it one time, I have a line to follow, so I should be able to cut it straight. I'm gonna come in and run some black paint on the edges of the white to hide that, since the walls, probably because of the wet technique we did to create our book page effect, are not exactly square and straight. So there are little gaps. Also gonna grab a scrap and glue it in. There we go. And what I'm gonna do is glue this to the bottom. And I think I'm going to be putting a little bit more moss back there to cover up the lights, which are now showing, because I think this is a little bit lower than it was before, but that's okay. All right, next we need to do our wand stands, and I've done all of this zoomed all the way in because I did something else that I filmed zoomed in. Oi! No idea if any of that was on camera. I will find out when I go to edit it. Sorry about that. In case I ended up cutting everything out, I got the piece in and glued this guy down and glued the first stand on, and realized that the J's hang lower than this, so we're hanging lower than the little lip that we're using to glue, and this one was extremely difficult to get in because of the shelf above. So let's get our placement, but these should be easier. Let's do this one because I don't have a shelf in the way of my fingers getting in there. So let's use our tweezers. I think, no, because there's not a lot of room. That's the one problem with doing things like this, is eventually you get to the point where you're like, I must glue something, and there's no room for my fingers to get in there to hold the thing I'm gluing in place. Actually, you know what? I think I might be able to hold the J's. Get that in place. And I think maybe one more piece of paper on might make this a little easier. All right, let's try this again. And I need there we go. All right, I'm just gonna hold this here. I'm gonna glue the other one in place. Then we'll add some wands to the stands. So I'll be back after I get the wand stands in place. Okay, so I picked out which wands are going where, just to speed this along, because Lord knows this is probably a ridiculously long video. And we're just gonna glue them on. And I think I may just try using my art glitter glue for this. And hope for the best. And yeah, I pretty much picked out which ones we're gonna go where based on which ones fit, because when I decided to put two up here, I wasn't thinking about the fact that the wands are longer than the stand. So yeah, that was a big component in who got put where and why, was who would fit. Okay, those guys are on. Let's add a little bit of moss back there to cover up the spot that's showing. And I used collage medium for that. And I'm also noticing, woo, that up top there's a shiny bit showing from the tape. Alright, so that's good. Now, I want to put some stuff in some of the drawers. So for this drawer down here, I've got some of the extra purple and orange, and then I made an extra bit of the twine that we use for creating our brooms. So this is her broom making drawer. I feel like I want to put some wands in. Spare wands, and then for this drawer, I think I'm gonna want to make some compartments for it so that I can put like a little thing of mica flakes that I get glued in, and then some other bits and bobs. But yeah, that drawer is really big. And I'm really not sure. All right, that we're gonna finish later because I gotta figure out what I want to do. Let's go ahead and put the book that's gonna sit on there on. I'm just gluing it closed a little bit more because we're gonna glue it down and we're gonna glue a wand on top, so I don't want it popping open. All right, we're gonna put a little clamp on it, let it sit for a minute, and I also am adding Tim Holtz person, and I didn't want her all the way back there in the piece, so I grabbed some foam core, glued a bunch of pieces together, and then painted it black so it wouldn't be noticeable. So we're going to add that to the back of her. I also want to add a witch hat to her. It's a Tim Holtz Idea-ology sticker book. So go with this hat. All right, should put the hat on before I put the that hole is way too big for that, for her head. Let's see. I think that's acceptable. Let's see, how does it look? I think what I may do is, got some scrap pieces of paper. We're just gonna put a scrap piece of paper there to cover that gap, and another scrap piece of paper over here to cover the gap over here. Oh. Now, because this is a sticker, it's sticky, so I'm just going to take a little baby powder and a soft brush and brush it with baby powder, because that will de-stick it. Try not to glue any dog hairs on there too. So now we can glue her in. There she is. Oh, I like that. All right, let's see. That's good. That can get glued onto our table. And I have a short showing you how I made a whole bunch of mini books. And then this wand can go on top. I'm just trying to decide, do I want it going this way or that way? Let's see how it looks with the lights on, if it makes any difference. All right, that's towards the back, towards the front. I think with it towards the back, just because it kind of then catches some of the light on the mica. And then just leave it alone and let it dry. I've got the Tim Holtz Tiny Nails, and what I want to do is have a wall of brooms. Let's bring over the brooms, and I off camera made a few using sticks, so we may add one of those in. And I did do the one with the orange, which I've noticed the orange keeps coming off of this on my fingers. So yeah. All right, let's figure out which brooms we're gonna do. So let's do the orange one. I think that's what we're gonna do broom wise. Yeah.
And I'll save the other 2 brooms for one of my other projects. Now, what we're gonna do is put the nails, don't go moving them until you figure out where your nails need to go. All right, so we're gonna put a nail there. Let's mark. Let's mark with a pencil. All right, we're gonna punch holes. Then we are going to put our nails through. And I want them sticking out. I'm trying to figure out what my best bet on how to do this is, because I need to bend them over while still having them sticking out a fair bit. Let's see what happens if we do this. Nope, that does not want to do that at all. All right, okay, so I had a bit of a think and thought I had the solution, which I probably still do. I just maybe need to cut the nail shorter, and that's actually hammering it in. So I'm gonna attach this. Then for each broom, I'm gonna put some twine around it, but I think I need to ink the twine because I'm not loving the color. That'll then go over the nail, and I cut the nail shorter, and I'll probably want to cut it just a hair more off. Which, with my heavy duty wire cutters, they actually cut pretty good. And then I'm gonna nail them in. So I think as of right now, what I'm gonna do is go ahead and glue this down. Going to trim a little bit of this off because it's overhanging. I'm gonna put some clamps on, leave this to dry, deal with the dog. Probably ink the twine and then I'll come back. Okay, so I have dyed the twine. So let's start by putting on our first broom, which is this one, and we'll go like this. I'm wondering, do I just want to hammer in the nails a little bit? Probably would be easier just to put our nails in. This is definitely going to be a little fiddly because our nails are so small. Okay, let's do the rest of them. I'm trying to see, let's use this kind of as a guide to how much we need. what? I want to ink the edge of that. Didn't quite work as well as I had hoped. Let's take a little bit of paint real quick. That guy was not in enough. I think I'm gonna put a dot of glue in there and then hammer it back in. I'm gonna put a dot of glue on the little loops and it'll dry clear, so I'm not all that worried about it. What I may do is see if the nails come out. That one came out with a little twisting, and just go back with glue. There we go, we've got our brooms hanging, and so they'll close like so. Okay, I realized we needed to put something in this drawer, and this piece is a little longer than I need it to be, so we'll cut it in a sliver off. I'm gonna grab my scoreboard. We're just gonna score this to give me a flap I can use to glue it into the drawer. So that can get glued in there. And then do the same with this piece, which I may need to resize. We'll figure out in a sec. All right, so this is going in down the center of the drawer, and look at that, I cut too much off. Oh, it's getting to be later in the day, and I am to be ready to be done, and have not gotten as much finished today as I would have liked. All right, we're gonna stick that down. It's close enough. Ideally, no one's gonna pull the drawer all the way out. I may want to trim a little off height-wise. Oh, it should be all right, all right. Now the other side, one side we're going to further divide, and that's gonna need a little off. Let's try and not take quite as much off. A little bit more off. Let's try. That works. We'll put the flap towards the back. That was not even close to straight cut. All right, let's bring back our piece. See how well it fits. Yeah, it's too high. That's not straight either. But I can get the drawer in, and that's what matters. Now let's pull the drawer out, and we're gonna fill up our little compartments. So I figured one compartment, we're just gonna put some moss in. A little purple moss, a little brown moss. That's got moss in it. Another compartment, we're gonna put some mica flakes in. And those I'm gonna glue in because otherwise they're gonna end up all over the place. I'm gonna add more glue because I realize I'm like, they're not all glued down. And yeah, making a bit of a mess here, but we're just gonna get everybody glued in. The glue's gonna dry clear. Not too bad. And then for the back one, we're gonna put some beads in there. All right, we're gonna set that aside and let it dry. And then we'll stick it back in. Now on the front, I want to put, oh, let me do that bit first. All right. Okay, so on the front, we've got our shoplifters will be turned to toads, and I need to get more moss because I want to set it off a little bit. I went on my computer and typed up Madame Malgrie's Wand and Broom Emporium. So that sign's going to go on the front, but it needs some inking. I'm also going to put it on the side as well. But let's work on the front first. And then I wanted to add a couple mushrooms down here, because I figured we'd do a little bit of moss and have some of the moss going up that way. And I also have a teeny tiny frog punch. So I figured I punched it out of scraps of some alcohol inked neon paper. So we'd add a few toads to our sign as well. So let me go grab the moss. I need that. All right, I got moss. Let's put our toads on our sign so we don't lose them. Then we're gonna put moss. Let's set that aside, let it dry. While it's drying, we can work on inking our sign and our toadstools. All right, I'm gonna start with antique linen. Now, since I printed this on my inkjet printer, I can't go wet or it's gonna smear. Before I forget, the one going on the side, it's too wide, so we're gonna cut those off like so. All right, now bring our book over again. think I may just vintage photo around the edges. I think I'm gonna come in and clamp that. Oh, and the mushrooms are this one's Poppy Stamp die, and these guys are Marianna Designs Autumn Harvest set, in case you're interested. And I die cut them twice just to give them a little extra thickness. Right, one of them we're going radioactive green. We're gonna use Twisted Citron Oxide on. Villainous Potion on this one. And Carved Pumpkin. Ink our edges. Oh, and this is an old Spellbinders die. It's Grommeted Tags. Now, since I didn't think of this until after we had already put the page on, what I'm going to do is grab the brads that I would use. But see, we're going to run into the problem of the legs sticking out. First, I actually want to bang them up with my texture hammer and see if I didn't do that on the doorknob because you don't want your doorknob to be all banged up. And then what I'll do is I will grab my wire cutters, and we're just gonna cut the backers, the legs of the brad off. So I covered the whole thing, or the rest of the box with, this is a digital by My Porch Prints, and then I went around the edges with some washi tape, just so we'd have nice, neat edges. Let's go ahead and glue that on. Right, let's take a look at Madame Malgrie's Wand and Broom Emporium. So here is our front door, where we have a warning against shoplifting, because they'll be turned into toads. It just amuses me. When we open the door, all right, I think what I may need to do is glue the brooms into place, because they're flopping around too much. As much as I'd like them to be a bit on the loose side, I don't know. I keep going back and forth on that. Because see, now you could take them off. And I like that idea, but they also flop around a lot. Oh, and we need to put our drawer back in. Where did I put my drawer? Ah, up here. So we've got our drawer that hides the mechanism for the lights. Those glue dots are not working at all. Then we've got our wands on displays, our Madame Malgré, a book with a wand on top, our skull candle, which I freaking love, and our little potion bottle, which I also love, that's got the little seal on top. Then in our drawers, in this drawer, we've got wand making components. In this drawer, we've got some spare wands. I may need to stick something in here to act as a little divider. So we've got additional wands to be worked on. And our broom components. And I love how this came out. Oh my God, it's so cool. Okay, so that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting.